Right guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I'm in this late 2010 Land Rover Discovery 4 HSE that I bought for just £7,000. I bought this specifically with a friend in mind who I know is in the market for this kind of car to use as their new dog car. I don't usually do this sort of thing. I get emails from people all the time asking me to source specific cars, and to be honest, I just don't have the time. I always think it's better to have the car, prepare it well, and then find somebody for it. There's an old saying, find bums for seats, not seats for bums. Anyway, I know if I prepare this car well, he'll have it, so that's not a concern. I'm a big fan of the Discovery 4. I know they're getting on a bit in age now, but in my mind, they still look good. I think if you stuck a private plate on this car, it looks like every penny of 20 grand. There's just something about a Discovery 4. They're a class act. They're quite timeless. It has that sort of Defender charm about it, whereby you don't know if the driver's just a humble chicken farmer, or actually the Earl of Wessex, who incidentally owns a Discovery 4, in Loire Blue, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's Loire. My nerdiness knows no bounds. I bought this particular car because it's a top spec HSE model with loads of features as standard, such as a heated windscreen, heated seats, cruise control, digital DAB radio, auto lights, keyless entry, keyless start. What this is a luxurious workhorse. It's exactly the spec I would go for if I were in the market for one. It's also been looked after quite well. It has a long MOT which is clean. There's not a single advisory item. It even smells fresh. It's not been used as a doggy wagon yet. As always before buying it, I did a car history check using Car Vertical. So I went to carvertical.com, typed in the vehicle reg, and it told me whether it had been stolen, whizzed, had a colour change, all of which it hadn't, it was totally clear. It also told me how many previous owners it had had, and when it had changed ownership. It also told me all the previous MOT history, so it's really useful. If you click the link below in the video description, or use the promo code HIGHPEAK, you'll get 10% off each and every check that you do. The last thing you want to do is buy a car that's still got finance outstanding on it, or a car that's had its odometer rolled back, so it's definitely worth doing a check before you hand over any of your hard-earned. I also noticed this one's got a brand new set of decent quality tyres, which is always a good indicator of how a car's been maintained. So I basically knew that it was a good, straight, honest example. Not so fast though, I don't get away that lightly, do I? It does have some issues this, so there's quite a job list. In no particular order then, it's due a service, so I'll run it to my mechanic and get them to change the oil and all the filters. I'll service the gearbox as well, because I'm a believer in that. I think prevention's better than the cure. The centre brake light doesn't work, which might just be the bulbs, but I suspect it's the actual unit itself. And the aircon needs a recharge. It also needs a little bit of paint. The front driver's wheel arch is scuffed, so I'll have to get that resprayed. Then I think I'll get it to the valeters and give it a good thorough detail, get them to buff the bodywork so it comes up nice and bright, and get them to give the interior a good old clean. And after all that, it should look $1 million. And last but not least, I've got a warning light. It's not an engine light, so guess again. It relates to the air suspension. It says only normal height available. Now when you first start it, the air suspension works fine. It goes up and down as it should and doesn't make any weird noises. But after you've done a couple of miles, you get this warning light on. I'm hoping that it's some sort of sensor, some sort of ride height sensor, rather than anything expensive. So I'll have to get that checked out. Oh, and then there's the key itself, which has seen better days. Someone's glued it, it looks a mess. That's quite a cheap job. There are lots of companies on the internet who for about £25 or £30 will refurbish the whole unit. You just pop it in the post, and then a few days later, a brand new key will hit your welcome mat. So I'm thinking, I paid £7,000 for this car. I should budget around £1,500 to do all these jobs. So then that will owe me £8.5. I think I should be able to sell this for £10. Which will give me a healthy profit of around £1,500. This would normally retail for around £12,000, so I think for £10,000, that's fair mates rates. What I'm going to do then is crack on with the jobs, and I'll catch up with you in a few days' time. Right, I've finally finished this long drawn-out Discovery renovation, and well, there's no surprise really. The costs have spiralled and ran away with themselves. Just a quick recap, I've had the paintwork done, so they've painted the front wheel arch and the front bumper because there was a little bit of lack appeal. I've had the mechanical bits done, which turned out to be a lot more than I expected. So what I thought I'd do today to finish this video off is park up somewhere and go through some of these eye-watering bills. And when I say eye-watering, I mean enough to fill a swimming pool. That's the sort of eye-watering bills I'm talking about. Right, let me find somewhere nice then. Right, well I think here will do. Nice old view of the rolling hills. Wait till you see some of these bills. It's not even funny. In no particular order, it had a four-wheel alignment because my mechanics couldn't do the four-wheel alignment, so I had to go to a place called Direct Tyres. That cost £80. A full valet cost £100 because it was quite bad. The air conditioning wasn't working, so that needed to be regassed. That cost £80. The paintwork, I had the front bumper painted and the near side front wing, but it was only the wing extension, the arch, not the full quarter. So that cost me £300. I bought a new set of number plates because halfway through this, my pal told me that he did want it if I got it right, and he wanted his plate going onto it. So they cost me £25, which technically isn't part of this whole spend, but it is, I guess. There's no way around it. As I was driving it doing all these jobs, something else broke. The clock, or the screen of the clock, got a crack in it. In fact, there's the old one. So I went onto eBay and bought a replacement cluster. That cost me £20. I bought 4 genuine Land Rover centre caps. They cost me £22 each. I could have got some on eBay, but they're never as good quality, are they? The old wheel nuts were rusty and they were starting to blow. You know how they get, so I thought I may as well replace those while I can still take them off. So a set was £70. That was for tyres, but that was done before I bought it. Now, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. The suspension light that was on, I don't know if you remember that turned out to be a compressor. So I could have got one on eBay or somewhere for $3.50 or something, but they're just Chinese copied parts. So I thought it'd be best to go to Land Rover and get a genuine one. That cost me £755 and 55 pence. At the same time, a mechanic fitted the clocks in the dash. They also did a brake fluid service, and the DPF light came on. So that cost £50 for DPF regeneration. The labour was £200. Brake fluid cost £6. So my total there was £1,213.85 pence. That's not the biggest bill. Right, this is something that I didn't really need to do, but I thought I'd better do because I'm selling it to a mate. I only had one key for the car, so I got a second one cut. That cost me £200 plus VAT, so that was £240. Right, this is the, if I show you quick, it'll be less painful. This is the big bill. It needed, I took it to my mechanics just for a check over really and a full service, but they also found it needed front brake discs because there was a bit of a judder, front brake pads. So the discs were £179, the pads were 53, plus a wear wire, that was £10.80. It did rear discs and pads as well. They were £103 for the discs, and the pads were £35, plus a wear wire of £10.80. It had an oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, pollen filter, oil. It also needed 2 rear upper suspension arms, they were £240. It needed a near side front suspension arm, that was £145. Plus near side rear drop link, that was £26. Plus 2 rear brake pipes, they were £35. There was a charge for tracking of £45, plus labour, which was £350. That brought my total to £1,357.84. Plus the VAT at 20%, so my total was £1,629.41. Bear in mind my total budget on this car was about £2,000. I'm now well over. Oh, something else replaced. The rear brake light, you know, the third centre brake light, it wasn't working, but it had all faded and gone off. So that cost me £84 plus VAT, so that was £103. That's not mine. Then I had the Gearbox Service. This is something that I always preach. That cost me £220 for a transmission service, including new steel sump conversion kit and new fluid. £220 plus VAT, so £264 total. Let me add this up then. So we've got 264, 103.01, 1629, 41, 240, 213.85. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves here. We're over the £4,000 mark, guys. £4,213. So add in the £7,000 I paid for the car. That takes it to £11,213.27. Scary, isn't it, how quickly things can escalate? On the bright side, I've sold this to my mate for £11,500, so I haven't lost any money. In fact, I probably made 200 or so. And there's quite a big chunk of VAT to claim back there, isn't there? So it isn't all bad. I've now got a car though that I've sold with confidence, and hopefully it'll last my mate 3 or 4 years without any big major bills. And you can't really put a price on that, can you? This is the biggest issue with the Discovery 3 and the Discovery 4. They're just too complicated. They're billed as being a bit more of a workhorse than a Range Rover, but they're every bit as fragile. This would be a far better car, far more utilitarian, if it were fitted with coil springs rather than air suspension. And it'd be far easier and cheaper to fix if they fitted a standard manual handbrake rather than this fiddly electronic one. Just things like that. I don't know why they've done it. They should have kept it simple. Yes, give it leather and air conditioning and cruise control, that's fine, but all the other stuff is just unnecessary. And when it breaks, you get monster bills. Because the market for the Discovery 4 remains quite buoyant, I think had I not sold it to my pal for 11.5, I think I would have got between 11 and 12 anyway for it. That's just what they're worth, especially a well-sorted one. I'm sure you can get some ropey ones for 7 or 8, but as I've just demonstrated, you will quickly spend thousands of pounds on them. Well, I think that's about it. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.